Hey, good morning, everybody. So this is going to be the watch list for Monday, August 26th. And let's go ahead and start with the economic news real quick and see what we got coming up. The good part is with last week's volatility, hopefully things should start to settle down this week and get back to normal. So we have a couple things that are going to happen before the market opens. We're going to get our durable good orders on Monday morning. I wouldn't worry about the TV interview with Fed President Daly. Shouldn't be anything that's really going to move the market. So for the most part, all the news on Monday will drop before we open. Tuesday, we do have the Case-Shiller Home Price Index. So it'll be, again, interesting to watch how home prices are faring across the country. And then while the market is open, 30 minutes into it, we're going to have consumer confidence. So you're going to want to watch for the first 30 minutes, maybe not get into a trade and hold off until consumer confidence drops. Wednesday, really nothing. We're free to trade there. Thursday, we're going to want to watch jobless claims, but all of this is going to happen before the market opens, and we should have a revision of GDP as well. And then again, yet while the market is open, 30 minutes into it, we're going to have pending home sales. And then another Fed speaker, again, same one as the prior day, nothing to be concerned about there. And then Friday, we're going to have some personal income spending, some PCE, as well as, again, some more core inflation data. That's going to, again, be all before the market opens, which is a good news story. And then just the one thing, the Chicago Business Barometer, it's not really anything that I pay attention to. The market will be open at that time, but we should be good. And then consumer sentiment, the actual final. So everything's going to happen pretty much pre-market. I would expect that things will calm down. So volatility should hopefully start to drop. Options premiums will be very manageable. Let's take a look at the actual markets. So after last week, everybody was waiting on Jackson Hole to really see what was Powell going to say and what direction was he going to give. So clearly, they believe they have inflation under control. The concern now is going to be unemployment. And did they wait too long to start lowering rates? And will unemployment start to go up? So it has been ticking higher, but they'd like to see it have some stabilization. Now, mind you, you can see what happened on Friday. Literally, we pushed right back up to where we were the day before, and the market precipitously sold off. This was a great short trade that you were able to take pretty much within the open. Right when Powell was talking, they bid the market up. It literally rejected from the pre-market high from the day before. So what would I be thinking about going into this next week? For me, again, I try not to have a bias, but I don't know what's going to push the market any higher. You look at where we're at, we're pretty much within 1% of all-time highs. If we're going to go to the all-time high and set a new record, I would want to get above this 563.17. So let's take a look at this on a 1 hour. We'll see exactly where we open up on Monday morning pre-market. But you can see we came up to 563.17. We rejected it hard. We pushed back up to it. We rejected it hard. They tried to push it up again. They failed it. And now we are slowly grinding back higher as Friday close of business into now the overnight. So in order to go long, I think you definitely need to hold 563.17 on a 5-minute candle to see if we have momentum to the upside. If not, I think we're just going to be trading between these levels, 563, 559, 556, 554. No reason for me to take off any of these levels. I found all of them for the most part on the daily. Right? Pivots. Where do we pivot on a daily basis? Well, here's where my 565 is coming from, my all-time high. Here's where my pivot is coming from, my 563, when we pushed it up and we rejected it. My prior pivot, which was resistance that now is acting as support, is 559. It was this candle right here. And then I'm just going candle by candle where we had a high, a low, a lower high, a lower low, a lower high, a lower low, a lower high, a lower low. Okay, we're now reversing the trend and we're starting to move back upward. But no different than this acts as resistance. On the way down, it will act as support. So this is where I'm getting my 1 hour time frames from. So I would just kind of be cognizant of these levels and how do we trade between them. If we push up 563.17 pre-market and we reject it, I think we're going to be playing within these two zones. Now, one of the questions for some of you that have been asking me with supply and demand, why are the buyers and the sellers overlapped as much as they are, right? Why are we not getting divergence where the sellers are up here and the buyers are all the way down here? Well, it has to go back to what I just said, right? We're at all-time highs. Nobody wants to be left holding the bag if the market does a correction, which is why we have these aggressive sell-offs. Same thing happened the other day. So what you have to do is you have to go to an even lower time frame, and you're going to see just that there is a ton of noise. Right now, for everybody who's a buyer, there's a seller. And in all honesty, there's probably, way more sellers than there's buyers. And the only way we will resolve this is to push to new all-time highs. So when you're looking to try to say, well, where am I going to reject with my buyers and sellers? It's really noisy right now. And it's noisy because, again, of the volatility and that we are at all-time highs. So I think that's just how you're going to have to wait and be patient. Probably give the market about 15 minutes to open before you take a trade, because what they've been doing, pre-market, push it up, then they're selling it off. They're pushing it up, they're selling it off. They did the same thing the day before. Push it up, sell it off. Push it up, sell it off. So right now, that's the trend for them to go into a day, right? We go up, we go down, then we go up. We go up into the day, we go down, then we close higher. We go up into the day, we close down, and then we end up higher. So just kind of be aware of how they're manipulating the market right now, and you just have to be more patient. Let's take a look at QQQ, see what they're doing here. I'm going to go back to a 1 day. We're still a little bit further off the highs here, right? We're not off by 1%. So we were all the way up here at 503. Right now we're at 480. What I don't like is the indecisiveness of this candle on a daily, right? I mean, we're literally right in the middle of the range. They push it all the way up. They push it all the way down. Again, my prior price points that I would want to be cognizant of was this pivot that they're using this as support, which is 475. I would also be cognizant of this 484 level right here. We do have a gap fill above it. So if I'm going to watch this on a 1 hour time frame, what would I want to see? Well, you can see here where we pushed up, we reject, we push up, we reject. Then they're using this as support. So here it was resistance, resistance. Then it becomes support. It becomes support again. It becomes support again. Right now, we're kind of trading between the two levels. So this one is going to be a little bit more challenging, and you're going to have to wait and see where the market momentum goes on Monday. Now, mind you, when we're trading between levels, this 484 and 475, it's quite a wide range. So what I would do is give the market some time to form a direction to see where is it starting to balance out. If we go to a lower time frame, like the 15-minute, it doesn't really help too much, right? Other than we had a reject here at 482 the day before. I'll make that yellow, and you kind of see how we pushed up to it, and then we rejected, and we're using the support at 475. So I would wait and see, can we get above this 482.87 before we pivoted down? Or also, one of the other levels I think you could pay attention to, which was this huge pivot right here, where they definitely pushed the market up, and then they're trying to trade between these zones, and then they flushed it, and they're coming up, flushing it, coming up, flushing it. So this is how I would watch it: 475 to 480, 482, 484, and then if they have strength, we can get above this 484, 4450 with some strength. I'd probably be looking for them to try to go up to the gap fill. But right now, we just have some volatility. We had a low, a high, a higher low, a higher high, and now we kind of started to reverse that trend. So I think you're just going to have to be patient to see how this one plays out. We saw a lot of it with the tech stocks, right? Is that they're now starting to rotate into other sectors, meaning the banks, the consumer cyclical. Has technology had its run, and now there's better money to be made elsewhere. Amazon did fill the gap this week. So if you kept that on your watch list, that was a good play. I did make a fair amount of money on that. It was just a really quick, small trade. But you can see that we are kind of just trading within this range right here. And it just doesn't want to, really move outside of it. So just kind of being patient, waiting to see, do we come back down to 176 and then playing it to 178. If we get above 178 and hold, where we rejected, support, rejected, then I think you can play it again back to these highs back up here, right? My first, point of resistance is going to be where we had some consolidation, and then we could ultimately go back, up to this 180 level and then start pushing higher from that point on up. So go ahead and mark that so you can kind of see these. And these would be my price points as to I need to hold the level. If I break the level, I'm going down to my next level. If we hold the level, then I'm going to, again, kind of pay attention to how we're trading between these. Let's take a look at Apple. Apple's another interesting one. I mean, tremendous volatility on a day. So some of these are turning into really good stocks to trade. But again, you're also within a range. So you almost have to wait for this range to break out one direction or the other, right? Because otherwise you're just going to get chopped in between them and you're going to have too much volatility where we're just pressing. We get above it and then we can't hold it. So for Apple, what I would look for on this one is I would look for us to be able to get above this 227.17 and hold it, and then play maybe some calls up to the 229s, 230s if they can sustain that. So let's just take a look at this on a daily basis. Looks like we do have a small gap fill to the upside. You can see that right here. Again, I always love to watch the gaps because they will fill 80 to 90% of the time. So this is going to be one that I want to watch if we can get above where we're at here on this level, this 228.27, and again, we would trade it on a lower time frame. Can we get above it and hold above it right here? See, back on Thursday reject, on Friday reject, get above 228.29, hold that, and then go for the gap fill, probably with the 230 calls. Okay, let's take a look at Google. It was in the news. A lot of consolidation on this one. Again, we do have a gap up above. Let's take a look at this on the one-day time frame where we're at. We had some great move where it rejects the bottom of the gap and then it pushes down to support where we were rejecting, support. We flushed it and then they recovered it pretty quick. So if we can hold this 164.90 and we get some strength in the market, what I would be doing is I would be watching for us to come down and retest this right around this 165 and then play for this little tiny gap fill up to 168. And then once we can hold that and move higher, play for the next one at 176. The wild card that's probably going to throw the whole market into a tailspin one way or the other is going to be NVDA. That has earnings coming up. Let's see, I believe it's next week on Thursday. Wednesday, the 28th. So you're going to want to watch this one without a doubt, right? So what are they doing? They're pushing it up here to this 130 level, and then they're aggressively selling it off. We need to hold this 130 level to start to go back to these prior highs at 137 all the way up to 140. So let's take a look at it on an hourly time frame real quick here. Just massive. Would have been a great buying opportunity when they sold this all the way off to 97. I mean, it already moved up 30%, right? And so then what would be my target levels be? I'd be watching these pivots right here where we rejected on both occasions. So this would be my target to the upside. So again, watch it on a 5-minute chart. We're pressing up against it in the after hours. Hold 130 then I think we definitely start to move higher. What I would want to watch for an all clear sign for, though, is that they can clear this pre-market high of 131. So you get above 131, then I definitely think they're going for 136 to the upside. I mean, you got quite a bit of room on this one. So definitely looks like a solid play. Next one I want to look at that was just throw out baby with the bathwater was Lululemon. Let's take a look at this one. It was trading all the way up toward $500. Then it had some bad earnings. It had some lifestyle brand issues. Again, we have a huge gap up here. Now, am I going to be playing this to the upside for a gap fill? No, it's like $200 away, right? So we just want to do this increment by increment. Now, mind you, this is why we keep gaps on our charts, right? There was a gap fill on the downside, and it filled it back to the upside. There was another gap right here to the downside, and what did the market just do this week? Filled it to the upside. That's why I like to watch stocks that have gaps, because they act like a magnet to fill. Now, there's a gap down below. Do I think we're heading back lower? Maybe if their earnings on the 29th are horrific, which I don't think they're going to be. I mean, if you're the CEO and this happens to the stock, I can assure you they have a sense of urgency to get their act together to possibly move this one higher. So I do like this for a bounce back to the upside. Long-term target, what would I be looking at? I'd be looking at a fib level of somewhere around 371, which is a huge move to the upside. But again, we just need to take this one in stages, right? Slowly but surely. But I think this is a good long-term opportunity to push higher. One of the other ones that had earnings this week that was surprising was Walmart. They were saying more seven-figure shoppers, seven-figure income earners are shopping there than ever before. So what does that show you? Well, that shows you that people are being very cognizant of price. What I would look for on this one is where we finally had the breakout and then we had the retest. I'd like to see it come back down to this 74.50. And then once it does, hopefully it does, you can then again, it was acting as resistance. It became support. Come back down here to the 74.50 and then take calls to go to the upside. So I think there's still some good strength in Walmart. The other one that was dismal, CrowdStrike, after that whole Microsoft system reset, airlines. I mean, what a nightmare that was for this company. But again, another stock that sold off from a huge consolidation up here at almost $400. It's trading at $271. What do I like with this one? I like this one to actually, again, come back to start going back up toward 300. So I would be playing a fib level reject here. And then also you'll note on the daily, which is why I like this one, we still have a gap fill, right? That was from the downside. So this is going to act as some momentum to keep moving up. So right now we're trading at 271.54, probably be playing the 285 calls if you get some good overall strength. Let's look at it on a 1 hour time frame. They're just kind of grinding it higher. I mean, so the good news is what you want to be cognizant of is we are in an uptrend, right? I mean, so do not fight the trend. They're moving this back up and it's holding the trend line. So as long as we can maybe come down and retouch, I'd definitely be looking at this for the gap at 285. Definitely a solid one. I'm going to save that. Okay. And then the last one I want to look at is going to be Boeing. Another train wreck. Again, they keep talking about, I think it's the 777, where we broke trend to the downside. They came back up to the trend and pushed it lower. But I also want to show you why Fibonacci's are so important, right? So here's a fib level from a pivot high to a pivot low. And what did we do? The trend line in confluence with the fib level drove it further south. Now, what are they doing? They're, again, back on a trend line to the upside. Okay, now this is on a 1 hour time frame. Let's go a little higher and look at it on a 4 hour and see, does it still hold? It does. I think I shared with you guys before that I would be looking for a breakout to the upside if we can get out of this consolidation, which we did, right? So you can see how we were consolidating within the channel. up, down, up, down, up, finally broke it back to now a fib level. They pushed it down. Where do they push it back down to? The top of the channel at 170. So this one I do like to go long. The fib is actually no longer valid because it already rejected. And I think you could probably get strength back up to the trend line up to 180. So this would be one that I would keep an eye on to maybe watch and see as we build. I don't know that we're going to come all the way back down here to 170. I think you kind of missed your opportunity. But if we can hold this, and let's just do a fib from here to here. We're starting to reject at 175.47. But if they can get above 175.47, then I think they're going to 176. They get above 176, they're going to 178. They get above 178, they're going back to the trend line. So, and then if they can break above the trend line, I think you can get some momentum on this one. But this would be another one where I would watch, do we come up and then reject before we finally break higher? So some things to look at this week. Again, hopefully more of a less volatile environment. Just give the market a little bit of time. It seems like it's taking trades longer to develop, sometimes 15, 20, 30 minutes. And then again, go back and watch what they're doing, guys. You know, I mean, you have to learn from history. And let's just look at it on a daily basis, you know, how they're handling this. Actually, I'm going to look at it on a 1 hour and just show you again. So what they're doing is they are opening up, driving it down, moving up throughout the day. In the morning, they push it up, they drive it down, and then they grind it higher over the day. In the morning, they push it up, they drive it down, and they grind it higher over the day. In the morning, they push it up, they drive it down, they grind it higher over the day. Watch for that same thing. They just did it, you know, how many days in a row? 1, 2, 3, 4 days. Will it continue? Possibly. And again, I say possibly because we're back within 1% of all-time highs. So be patient. Just wait for your trade setups. Wait for your level to hold. Once your level holds, you should be good with a 5-minute confirmation. And then if it breaks below, take your stop loss, get out, wait for your next trade. So with that, I hope that helped. And if you're interested, the registration is now open for my September masterclass, if you haven't already taken it. And then for those of you that are students, I am working on something special that you'll be getting some communication from me in the very near future about setting up a community and a Discord. So I want to make sure that we all stay in touch and keep sharing best practices, our wins, because I definitely think 2025 is going to be an amazing year to trade the markets, especially once we get past this presidential election. So with that, everybody, have a really great weekend, and I appreciate you. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.